Some Alberta families are still dealing with a Canada-wide supply chain struggle that started in 2022. The issue is finding an affordable and dependable supply of baby formula. Here are two moms sharing their experiences.
My daughter was born at the end of October in 2022. My husband called probably 13 different stores, and we even started calling surrounding townships to see if anyone had anything, and nobody had any. We ended up making the decision that we're just going to have to switch her to a new formula that we could find.
So my daughter was born in April of 2022. My husband you become a little desperate to kind of get wherever you can. And I know a lot of people, even through social media, were posting, I'll trade for this, or even if you have an open container, or, that's only just past expiry. So even that gets a little scary because now we're resorting to almost using expired stuff rather than anything else because, what do you feed your 4 or 5 month old child when you can't find formula?
That was Grand Prairie's Bailey Merkley and Aaron Fontaine in Edmonton. Joining us now in studio is someone who hears concerns like this regularly. Marcy Peterson is the Edmonton Executive Coordinator with Mamas for Mamas. Good morning, Marcy.
Morning, Mark.
So what is Mamas for Mamas?
Mamas for Mamas is a nonprofit charity started in 2016 by Shannon Christensen in Kelowna. We have grown and we are a national charity. So we have 6 physical locations, Edmonton being the very 6th. Yay. We just got our location in the northwest side of the city. And we also have satellite branches, meaning people that just kind of collect everything and then do pop-up markets at different locations. But we're all the way through to Newfoundland now.
Oh, that's great. So what's the mission?
Mission is helping mothers, fathers, caregivers that are dealing with poverty-related issues. So we're helping them in a few different ways. We have a Facebook group that they can reach out to one another and support one another on there. We also have mental health initiatives where we can get them in to see mental health specialists if they're needing that. We also have our Karma Market, which is at our location. So that is a resource that has free items. So we have things like diapers, formula, clothing, basic essentials like shampoo and feminine hygiene.
So what is happening to the supply of baby formula? You must have dug into this a little bit, right? Because you're dealing with it a lot, I assume?
Yeah. So there was that instability several years ago in the pandemic in the U.S. market. So I think there was an investigation in one of the main branches that were distributing baby formula at that time, and that basically had a ripple effect. That branch was shut down for an investigation.
Like a factory itself?
Yeah, exactly. And then it just had a ripple effect, and it has never really fully recovered. There has been stresses since I started with Mamas for Mamas probably a year and a half ago. I've noticed it getting worse and worse.
So what are you hearing from parents, who rely on formula to feed their babies?
Yeah, so instability in, prices increasing always because the supply is limited. So maybe getting that on the consumer side is difficult, so they're raising those prices. And then instability in actually getting the formula that they've chosen. So some days it'll be on the shelf and some days it won't.
That can be very stressful, I'm sure, for these parents who are also, if they're dealing with other things too in their lives, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So imagine a family that can afford, and they have the resources and the gas to drive around the city to multiple locations to find the formula.
Right.
But then imagine a family who just has enough for, that $50 box of formula. And now they got to take bus or transit to several different locations throughout the city.
That just seems impossible.
Yeah, it's pretty stressful.
Now, have you been able to collaborate with other organizations to try to connect infants with the formula they need?
Yeah, and we find that we're all kind of working together. Some of us nonprofits out there, we're touching base. Do you have any of this? Can we, get that to this family in need? Also took a tour of the food bank and noticed that they have similar issues, and they're dealing with the same type of insecurities that we are. and they work together too. Like if formula is going to close to expiry date, they work to make sure that we get it out to
That it gets used.
Yeah, exactly. Get it to the families that need it.
Yeah. So is it a formal partnership, or is it just kind of like, okay, we're just
No,
get on the phone and call everybody?
exactly. No formal partnerships. But you know what? I will say that the nonprofits in Edmonton are pretty great. There's no competitiveness. There's just that let's help the families in need.
And is it a constant week-to-week thing, or have there been times when, okay, it seems like things are going well right now?
Yeah, going in, because we'll get monetary donations to our branch, and I do some of the shopping for those, for the formula. And some weeks I'm like, oh, wow, look at the shelves. This is great.
Right.
And then some weeks I'll go in and, there's nothing. So it's very unstable.
So when you talk about expiry, if you buy formula, how far down the line can you have it for? Is it 3 months, 6 months? Is it a year?
Yeah, it depends on the manufacturer's expiry date.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is something that parents have to pay attention to when they're purchasing, to take a look at the expiry date to make sure. I don't know if you guys, I have older children, so
Same here. It's been a while since we had formula in my house.
formula is not in my repertoire until I got back into some nonprofit work with mums. But, a small can of formula can be $47, $50 that will last you maybe 3 weeks if you're lucky.
Really?
So, spending $100, $150 in formula for a month is not unheard of.
Wow.
Which is, pretty substantial.
So what's your advice then to families who are struggling with the cost and struggling to find it?
Yeah, so they can come to Mamas for Mamas. Our supply is by donation. So, if we have it, we will definitely get it to you. We can also reach out to some of our nonprofit I wouldn't say partners or friends,
colleagues, yeah.
and to see if they can get that that specific formula that you're looking for. And phoning around, making sure in advance, but sometimes the stores don't have that ability to make those checks for the families.
Well, Marcy, thanks for the good work that your organization is doing on this, and thanks for coming in this morning to talk about it.
Thanks
Appreciate
for having me, Mark and Tara.
Marcy Peterson is the Edmonton Executive Coordinator with Mamas for Mamas.